Hi everybody, this is Jessica. I'm your registered dietitian here at Total Healthcare, here to talk you through some tips for heart health. These tips are going to be most important if you have a diagnosis like high cholesterol, high blood pressure, history of any heart disease, heart attacks, history of heart disease in your family. But even if you don't have anything like that going on, these are great tips to follow to make sure that it stays that way. We can help hopefully prevent those things from happening in the future. The first thing I want to talk about here is the types of fats that we're consuming. The types of fats that we eat is mostly going to really impact our cholesterol levels. So we've kind of got our healthy fats and our less healthy fats. The less healthy fats that we really want to try to limit are going to be more of the fats that are solid. So things like butter, lard, Crisco. We really want to kind of try to use less of those things, and we want to try to stick more towards the liquid fats. So I've got a couple here with me today. We've got canola oil or vegetable oil, either one is fine. Sesame oil, which is really great if you're doing something with kind of a more Asian style, Asian flavor like a stir fry. And also olive oil, which is definitely a great choice, but best to use if you're cooking at a lower heat. If you're cooking something at a higher heat, better to use something like a vegetable oil or canola oil. These oils are going to be more of the heart healthy oils. You can tell they're liquid at room temperature, of course, which means they're going to be a little bit better for our heart and our cholesterol levels. So whenever you're cooking, do try to limit the amount of oil and fat that you use overall. Of course, we need some, but try to stick to more of these liquid plant-based oils and less of the solid fats like butters. The next thing that I want to talk about a little bit here is seasonings and salt. So when it comes to blood pressure, the biggest thing really in our diet that's going to affect our blood pressure is our salt consumption. We really do want to try to limit our salt consumption. That doesn't mean we have to cut it out totally, but we want to try to stick to about a teaspoon a day, which is not very much. That's about 2,300 milligrams. So if you're ever looking at the back of a label and you're looking at how many milligrams are in there, think about sticking to about 2,300 or 2,300 milligrams over the course of the day. So when it comes to salt and seasoning, our food needs to be seasoned, it needs to taste good, of course. We have lots of options where we can really limit the amount of salt. So some of the things to really try to use a little bit less of would be seasoning blends that already have salt included in them. So things like seasoned salt, Old Bay, of course, Tony's. Just be careful with these guys. They already have salt in there. So they're gonna give you flavor, but if you want more flavor, you also have to add more salt. Comparatively, we do have some different seasoning blends like Mrs. Dash, or there's different McCormick blends that are salt-free. So you still get all of the flavor, and then you can add a little bit of salt yourself if you want, but you have a lot more control over how much salt is going in, and you're really getting the bulk of the flavor from the blend itself. Another favorite of mine is bouillon. This one is sodium free. There's a couple brands that make this, so if you use a lot of bouillon like I do in your cooking, you can get that chicken flavor, that delicious savory flavor without sodium. And then again, if you want to add a little bit of salt in your cooking, just a small amount, you can, but you have a lot more control when you're starting out with salt-free seasonings. Another big source of salt to look out for in your foods is foods that are highly processed. So think about some of our highly processed meats, things like Spam or hot dogs, sausage, bologna, salami. We really want to be limiting those as much as we can compared to leaner meats like chicken, turkey, even roast beef, things like that. Those meats that are highly processed are really going to have a lot of salt added. So just be careful of how much we're consuming of those. We really want to limit them. Also, our highly processed meals, things like instant noodles, pre-packaged flavored rice, frozen meals, these things that are kind of ready to go, ready to eat, a lot of times they're gonna have a lot of salt added. So just be mindful, we do have some options there. If we're doing instant noodles, most of the salt's in that seasoning packet. So maybe use just a quarter or a half of that packet versus the whole thing. If we're doing frozen meals, you can always look at the labels. There are gonna be some frozen meals that are maybe 600 milligrams or so, which is pretty decent if we're trying to stick below 2,300 for the day. Others are gonna be closer to 1,000 or 1,500, which is gonna get us really close to the total for the day. So just look at the labels, look at that amount of sodium on there when you're choosing something like a frozen meal. One of the biggest things that we can do to really limit our sodium is cooking at home as much as possible. It doesn't have to be fancy, really time-consuming, expensive, elaborate meals. Even just making some simple meals at home, getting a repertoire, a list of things that you know are quick and easy for you is a great way to limit sodium. If we are eating out at restaurants or we're eating a lot of takeout fast food, there's always going to be a lot of sodium really in those things. We don't have as much control as we do when we're cooking at home, and we can really adjust the amount of sodium and make sure it's just enough, no more than we absolutely need in there. So cook at home more if you're able to. The next topic that I want to touch on is the types of carbohydrates that we're consuming. Carbohydrates are a big buzzword right now. They're not evil as they're often portrayed to be, but we do have some better options and some options that we want to limit. When it comes to the types of carbohydrates that we want to really choose more often and try to increase to help with our heart health, that's going to be things like fruits, vegetables, whole grains like brown rice, wild rice, oats, whole wheat bread, things that contain a lot of fiber. Fiber is awesome for our heart and our gut and all kinds of different parts of our body. So the more we can really try to increase that type of carbohydrate, the fiber that's going to come from anything that grows out of the ground. Again, fruits, vegetables, beans, nuts, seeds, whole grains, that's going to be a really heart healthy choice. And on the flip side, the type of carbohydrate we really want to limit is going to be the refined carbohydrates or the simple carbohydrates. And that's going to be a lot of things like that have sugar added to them. So sweetened beverages, things like, sweet tea, soda, fruit juices are going to have a lot of sugar without much fiber. And adding sugar into our foods, we just want to really try to limit that wherever we can. If we're adding a lot of sugar into our oatmeal, maybe try adding fruit instead, since it's going to be a higher fiber choice that's lower in that refined sugar. A great way to go about this as well is trying to make sure you're eating plenty of your fruits and veggies. Going to be great for hitting that fiber as well as just overall health. When it comes to your meals, especially at lunch and dinner, really try to make half of your plate vegetables. I know that's a lot, but do your best to try to make half of what you're eating at lunch or dinner coming from that vegetable category. That's going to be a great way to really limit the sodium, limit that bad fat, get lots of fiber, and improve your health overall. One other element that's similar to nutrition is physical activity. You want to make sure that you're getting enough movement. Aiming for about 30 minutes per day or more is a great goal to try to hit. And it doesn't really matter what type of movement you're getting. Any movement is great, whether you like to walk around your neighborhood or you can find a community center. If you like to dance, anything that you like is going to be a great way to help improve your heart health, prevent future heart conditions, and just improve your health and your mood overall. Stress also plays a role as well. So do try to make sure you're managing your stress, taking advantage of mental health services such as cash services at Total Healthcare, because stress is going to play a big role into things like your blood pressure and your overall heart health. Fresh fruits and vegetables are always a great choice, but frozen are actually just as healthy for you. If you're picking out frozen vegetables, if you can, try to choose the ones that don't have any seasonings or sauces added to them. For example, just plain frozen broccoli. That's going to be really shelf stable. It's going to last for a long time in your freezer. So if you don't get around to using it right away, it'll be there when you're ready for it. It also usually can be cooked really quickly and easily. A lot of times you can throw the bag right in the microwave. So frozen veggies and frozen fruits are a great way to help get in more fruits and vegetables in a way that's going to be pretty cost effective and also not spoil as quickly as our fresh fruits and veggies. If you want to go with canned fruits and vegetables, a couple tips here. If you're doing a canned veggie, try to choose ones that are less sodium, no salt added. Check out the label there. You're usually going to have options for something like, let's say, canned string beans that have no salt added. Or if you don't have that option and you're going with the regular canned veggies, just try to give them a rinse under some water. Most of the salt there is going to be in the liquid that they're canned in. So if you can just drain off that liquid and give them a rinse, that's going to be a pretty good option for your veggies as well. When it comes to canned fruits, try to choose ones that are either canned in 100% juice, and that'll say it right on the front of the package, or canned in light syrup. Try to really limit the ones that are canned in heavy syrup because that's going to have a lot of sugar added. 100% juice is going to be your best choice. And again, with those, just try to really drain off the extra liquid so that what you're eating really is the fruit itself. But again, fresh fruits and vegetables are kind of, a great choice. Frozen are really equally good. And then canned, especially if we're able to kind of discard some of that liquid, can be a really nice choice as well. Don't forget that vegetables also don't have to be green. Green vegetables are great, but there are tons of different options. So, our spinach and lettuce and asparagus and broccoli are wonderful, but we've also got squash, tomatoes, we've got eggplant, we've got cabbage, different colors of bell peppers, so many different options when it comes to veggies. And also remember that they don't have to be plain to be really healthy. They don't have to be unseasoned or boring. You can definitely make veggies in such a variety of ways that will keep them really interesting and keep you wanting to eat a half of a plate full of veggies, which is a lot. Also, don't be afraid to experiment with different foods and different recipes. You might try something new that's a healthier swap. So maybe you're used to putting some sour cream on your baked potato and you want to try some unflavored Greek yogurt instead, which in my opinion can be a great swap. You're a little nervous about it, you're not sure how it's going to taste, seems kind of weird. Give it a try. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't, but you're never going to know in case you try, and you might find something that is a healthy, easy swap that you like just as much, that doesn't really require any extra effort. So just don't be afraid to try it out. Social media, TikTok, Instagram, different websites are great resources for recipes and to get different ideas for things that you may not have otherwise thought of. The American Heart Association does have a great recipe website with lots of really heart-healthy recipes. Another website that I really highly recommend is eatingwell.com. They have wonderful, wonderful recipes that are tailored to different sort of medical goals and that sort of thing. But don't be afraid to branch out a little bit and try things that are new to you. Next, I want to talk a little bit about snacks. This goes for you parents as well as the little ones. When we're thinking about snacks, let's try to do a little bit less of the traditional snacks like chips, Takis, snack cakes, things of that nature, and try to go for some things that are going to give us as well as the young ones a little bit more energy, keep us more full. So really a great combination is to try to do a fruit or a vegetable with a source of protein. So some examples of how that could look could be an apple with some peanut butter, maybe a banana with some peanut butter, could be maybe some low-fat Greek yogurt with some frozen fruit or dried fruit added in. Could be some veggies with hummus. If you've never tried hummus, maybe give it a try if you'd like. It's a really yummy savory dip that's made from chickpeas. Or even some fibrous crackers with some hummus, like some Triscuits or Wheat Thins. Another favorite of mine is veggies with ranch, but to make it a little bit more heart healthy, I like to make a ranch dip that starts with some blended up cottage cheese. Even if you don't like cottage cheese, I promise you won't know that that's what it is once it's blended. So blended up low-fat cottage cheese with a packet of the powdered ranch seasoning, and then a little bit of garlic or garlic powder, a little bit of lemon juice. Blend that all up together and it's a perfect, really heart-healthy dip. Tastes just like regular ranch, and it's perfect for dipping veggies into as a great snack. Trail mix is another good option that's got a little bit of dried fruit and some nuts. We get some healthy fat and some fiber there. Just kind of, rethink your snack choices a little bit away from some of those really, convenient corner store options to maybe things that might take a moment to put together, but really in the long run are going to keep you feeling a whole lot better. When it comes to beverages, this is a really important area as well. So we can get a lot of extra sugar, extra calories from things like fruit juices, sweet teas, sodas, and all kinds of different sweetened drinks. So really try to choose beverages for you and your kids that are gonna be zero sugar. Water is always gonna be the best option, but if you like, you can always do zero sugar versions of things, and that's a good second best option. So even the little packets like Crystal Light or the little drops like Mio that are zero sugar and very low calorie that can be added into water can be a great way to get more zero sugar hydration in a way that's still gonna keep you or your young ones interested and again, wanting to drink that water. Other good options could be an unsweetened tea, some seltzer or sparkling water. There's lots of different zero sugar options out on the market now, so just keep an eye out next time that you're in the beverage aisle for new products and new things that are always coming out, but do try to choose mostly zero sugar, very low calorie beverages when you're choosing what to drink. And then lastly, I want to talk a little bit about alcohol. Alcohol consumption overall is something that we really do want to limit as much as possible. Alcohol can have negative impacts on a lot of different components of our body, a lot of different organs, but it's definitely going to impact things like blood pressure, cholesterol, and overall heart health. So do try to, if you consume alcohol, really try to keep it to 1 standard drink per day or less for women, 2 standard drinks per day or less for men, but really the less alcohol we can do, the better. If you're interested in learning more about nutrition and getting some more one-on-one personalized advice, you can always talk to your primary care provider and ask about meeting with a dietitian, meeting with me here at Total Healthcare. If you fit the criteria, they will get you scheduled with me and we can get more into depth one-on-one to provide you with some more personalized resources and meal ideas and all sorts of things.